Welcome to The Sound, KQAL FM's weekly behind-the-scenes look at Midwestern-made music. From writing and recording to distribution and promotion, The Sound is your source for new releases and exclusive interviews from Midwestern artists. Support for The Sound is made possible by a grant from the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Rolling.
Tonight on The Sound, we speak with Jake Pavek and Travis Erickson from the band A Piano in Every Home on their new compilation album, North American Review. This album is comfy and wave-like, with songs including April, Heather Lane, and Boxing Glove. The lyrics themselves are flowy and show a maturity that comes from years of songwriting. These guys are some serious songwriters, and hearing them talk about their music writing process is sure to fascinate and inspire you. Though it isn't a few songs, the album weirdly seems to lack the instrument the band was named after. But we will get more into that later. I'm Abby Hawkey with KQAL's Bill Stoneberg, and this is Jake Pavek and Travis Erickson from A Piano in Every Home on The Sound.
Maybe be my love song and be mine tonight. Yes, I'm new to loving you every day. I don't want to make a mistake. I don't want to feel it out and I don't want to wait. Like the wild wind on the sea, you got no idea what you're doing to me. You got no idea what you're doing to me. Hey, if I lose you in a hurricane, but hey, if I lose you in a race, I won't let go, but I'm tired of I need you a little bit closer to home. I need 20 seconds alone. I need you in the garden and I need you on the phone. Somewhere between there and lonely, you got no idea what you're doing to me. You got no idea what you're doing to me. Hey, if I lose you in a hurricane, but hey, if I lose you in a race, I won't let go, but I'm tired of with four lines running through your head.
That was April by A Piano in Every Home. They're from Minneapolis, and that's off their latest album called North American Review, which is their third full-length album. And I'm joined on the phone tonight by Jake and Travis. Thanks for being here, guys. How you doing?
Bill, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, doing well.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. And we have Abby Hawkey here, too.
Hello.
Say hello. Okay, great. Abby is our latest addition to the production team here at KQAL.
Yep.
So this is her first interview for the sound. So, yeah. And I was going to ask you guys before we turn the mics on, but I totally forgot. So I'll embarrass myself right here on the air. I met one of you and at Metronome Brewery. And please forgive me, I can't remember which one of you I met.
I think it was Jake.
Jake?
Yeah. Travis talking, but I think it was Jake.
Okay, yeah. Jake, it was you that I met, wasn't it?
You know who it was. I'm gonna complicate this for you further.
Oh,
probably
no!
Want to remove it because it'll be too much to. We want to spare the listening audience.
Okay.
It's probably our drummer Jake.
Really?
Was he up on stage playing with Turbo Pastel? Ben Burwell?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yep.
So that's our
two
drummer.
Jakes.
Yeah, that's Jake 2. I'm Jake 1.
Yeah. You got
Well,
it.
of course you're Jake 1. You don't screw up, right?
It's
right.
It's an incestuous circle over
Yeah,
here. So
and
you're talking to Turbo Pastel.
and I think
you're talking to us, and there's
right.
a lot of overlap.
And I just made a reference to something we said before we turned the mics on. So this is going swimmingly already.
I got this.
Well, anyway, okay, so Jake 1 is who we've got on the phone here. So Jake 1 and Travis. I noticed, so the record, you guys had mentioned that it's a compilation album. And it's listed as a compilation on Spotify, but I don't see the tunes anywhere else. Am I mistaken, or did I look at the wrong, what's going on?
No, you're not. So there's a complex history with this. And if we go back nearly 10 years when we put it together, we had this brilliant idea, which was you get attention when you put a record out. And I kind of like the idea of having series of things. So we decided to make a record, split it into 2 EPs, and release them 4 or 5 months apart. Oh. So we didn't light off all the fireworks at once. It wasn't what's that female pop star that just put out the record that was 32, Taylor Swift, right? Of course.
Oh, sure.
32 songs on the record. She lit off all the fireworks at once. We wanted to kind of do the slow roll. So we released North American Review Part 1, North American Review Part 2, and they were both under EPs. And you fast forward 8-9 years, whenever that was, we put it out, and we said, you know what, let's just bundle it all together. Makes more sense now. People want to listen to it as as kind of one piece.
Okay.
And that's what we did. So it's categorized as a compilation. We think of it as an LP, whatever you want to call it.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, that's interesting too. And so, what do you guys think? Speaking of that, putting out an album, or splitting it up into EPs, or parsing things out. Sometimes artists just put out a single at a time. In this day and age of streaming, what do you guys think about that? Putting out just singles or putting out an entire compilation? What's your thought process? I mean, it sounds like you like the slower release, but do you also like a collection that goes together? Because I think this album, North American Review, is very cohesive that way. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. I think we were excited about the idea of splitting it up and do 2 EPs. We did 2 release shows, which was fun for us.
Right.
But I think in the end, in hindsight, I think people were confused. They're wait, what is this, another new album? There wasn't enough kind of background about it.
Okay.
And I think, so it's, the approach to releasing music is just ever changing and evolving. So it's hard to catch up with everything. But I guess... we're working on a new record now, and I think the approach is just to not confuse people as much as possible.
Right.
So make sure that, releasing singles and maybe having a slower release to let people digest it a little bit, maybe have some more content to go with it, but make sure that, people know it's all under this encompassing record.
Right.
Wow.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. And I noticed your other 2 albums came out around 2019, I believe, and then the pandemic hit. So I'm assuming those came out before the pandemic, possibly.
Yeah, they did. They did.
So how much of a wrench did that throw in things? And what did you do? How did you handle that to get where we are now with the new stuff coming out?
Well, I mean, it did. I think it did this nice thing where it put the foot on the hose, so to speak, where you get a lot of pressure build up, you get a lot of inspiration, you get a lot of time to work through things, and and we tend to do things slowly, and I'm sure we're going to get more into the process of what all this looks like, but we've been making music together, the two of us, for over 20 years now, and it kind of pains me to say it, but that's you spend enough time doing something like that with someone, and you figure out what works, you figure out why you're doing it, and you can't be fake about anything of why you're doing it when you're doing it that long. So what I mean to say there is we're slow about things, we're methodical about things. Every time we're working on a record, we go, you know what? No one's sitting there waiting to hear this. We have time. Let's get it right. Let's get rid of the pieces that aren't working. Let's release something we're proud of. So, the pandemic probably gave us 2 or 3 years of just songwriting. And then once things opened up, we got things in the incubator, got things in the studio, and have been pressing forward the last year and a half, getting it on record.
Cool.
So,
cool. Yeah. And I think putting that foot on the hose really helped. Like, I don't know, man, this is a great album, I think, really good, really, like I said, cohesive. Why don't we play another song for folks, and maybe I can get my stuff together here, and we'll come back and talk more. We're talking with A Piano in Every Home, and they have a new album out called North American Review. We're playing through some of the tunes of that tonight. This next one here is called Heather Lane, and we'll be right back after Heather Lane.
Look at me, you say. Look at me,
That was Heather Lane, and that's from A Piano in Every Home out of Minneapolis, and that's from their latest release called North American Review. It just came out in January of 2024 here. And I have Jake and Travis on the phone with us. Jake number 1, I'm told. So
That's right.
Right. So you guys. So I was kind of talking about the sound here, how it's cohesive and things like that, but it has a very mellow sound to it. It reminds me of like groups I would have listened to, like the Jayhawks, or even 70s artists like James Taylor, stuff like that. But one thing that I noticed about it, there isn't as much piano as I expected on the record. And I was just kind of wondering, like, well, two things, I guess. This is a twofold question. One, where does the sound come from? Is this something that was intentional on your part? Like, did you think about, we want to sound like this, or is it more organic? And then the second part of the question is, where does the name come from? So,
both good questions. I'm going to let Jake answer the second question, and I'll go ahead and jump into the first, which is where does the sound come from?
Okay.
I'm a terrible musician in the sense that I don't really listen to that much music. It's mostly podcasts or just, I don't know, the wind coming in through the car windows or something. But
sure.
The influences that are there are very much, Mark Knopfler, Dire Straits. You've got some of Dylan in there. You've got the war on drugs. You've got some of the things I like about Chris Isaak. They get threaded into that. I think where the sound comes from, though, is really you get two guys. We mentioned corn-fed boys from Wisconsin, but we started playing music together when we were 14.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
14, 15. We're in our mid 30s now, so it's been about a little over 20 years.
Nice.
And we taught each other how to make music. So the things that we were interested in together, just kind of, you stick enough things in a jar and you let it ferment over a long enough period of time, and you're going to get something interesting that comes out of that. And it's probably going to be cohesive if it's not an absolute mess. And the fact that we're still together means it wasn't an absolute mess. So the cohesion just comes from building upon lots of different layers of musical interests over time, letting those steep, letting that marinate, and then this is kind of where it is. And if you listen to the record we're working on now, which I know we're not going to spend too much time on tonight, but it's an extension of that, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we should really be talking about our 2004 EP release.
But we won't. We're gonna call you back in 6 months, Bill, and we're gonna do it again. Now to the name, Jake came up with the name. This goes back to middle school, Bill.
Really?
This isn't like this isn't some new thing, but I'll hand it over to him to walk you through that.
Yeah, so we played together under a different name, just really bad names. I think our first was Mellophobia, which is the fear of music, super ironic and funny, right?
Right.
Middle school things.
Something, yeah.
And then I did like a little solo project, whatever. And I was buying my first real instrument, which was a Fender Rhodes Mark II.
Ooh,
Still
nice.
have her. We'll never give her up. But got her at Willie's in St. Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was like 16 maybe, and went in there to grab it. And they had like an old ad from Wurlitzer on the wall, and it just said "A Piano in Every Home," and it was just like a family sitting around a piano. And I just thought that was really cute. So named my little project that, and then the band kind of took that over. But yeah, not much to do with piano. I play piano. There's piano elements in some of the tunes, but not super associated.
Interesting.
And then it was too late to change it.
Oh, right. Well, and it's a cool name, and it's a really cool sentiment and a cool name. Well, that is interesting. So that kind of leads me to my next question. I was going to ask, how did you guys meet and come together and start playing music? So can you take us back into the way back past? How'd this come together? And how did the band? How did it grow into this band?
Yeah, I'll take you into the way back past.
Okay.
So we're going to go back to the early aughts. It's middle school, right?
Sure.
You're a pimply boy in 7th grade, and if you were between the ages of 8 and 28, and you remember that time, this wave hit like a fever, and it was skateboarding became the coolest thing. It was out of California. It captured the hearts and minds of every boy, right?
Right. Yeah.
Plenty
Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
plenty of women too, but it was just it was edge, it was cool, it was going against the grain. And this wave came to small town Wisconsin like everywhere else, albeit a bit later, right? Sure, it hit California 2 years earlier.
Right.
Well, Jake really got ahead of this wave. And when the skateboarding bomb dropped, and it was the coolest thing, he happened to be like semi-pro. He was actually sponsored by a few outfits.
Wow.
And he became the coolest kid in school, like overnight. This is like the stuff you make movies about. And I, just wanting to capitalize on that, was like, oh my God, I gotta meet this kid. So I go to the skate park, total self-interested move, and go, and I finally get in a circle and meet up with him. We hit it off, and we got together, got along fairly well. And you fast forward a couple of years, and I'm learning to pick up a guitar, and I'm taking guitar lessons, and he starts playing. We started playing music together. But that's how it started.
Right. Yeah, and I remember because we were friends first, and skateboarding and doing all the things, and then he was hanging out with another guy playing guitar, and they called me one night, and I hadn't picked up an instrument at all. Was not really interested in music at that point. And they asked me to play bass in their band. I was like, what, bass? I'm gonna play guitar. What the hell?
Right.
But my dad played bass in a band with a great group of guys. So it was just kind of natural, and he taught me how to play bass, and then that's kind of how it started. Yeah.
Wow.
I for one think that the bass is a very underrated instrument, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Well, I already switched to guitar, so.
Well, I mean, you can switch back and forth.
He's an ambidextrous, multi-layered musician. He can do like 14 different things,
Nice.
I'm just the
Lousy lyricist.
I'm just a lousy lyricist. So anyway.
Nice.
Yeah. First and foremost, do you still skateboard?
I try. I don't know if the knees can handle as much as they used to.
Right.
But,
Yeah.
Try to get out every now and then and see how I can handle. But, yeah, a couple times a year. We got kids now, and
It's tough.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also so the song is called Heather Lane. Is there anything that did you draw inspiration from the song Penny Lane at all for that, or is...
No, that's clever. No, I never put that together. I did not. There's a so we how familiar your listeners are with the geography of St. Paul, and I'm not going to go too far into it, but there's a street, Heather Street, I called. I just appropriated it to Heather Lane for the record, but the backdrop of this album, and I know, and this can be kind of a roundabout way of answering your question, but the backdrop to this album, when it was first released as two EPs, was nearly 10 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that you're writing about it now means that it's holding up to something, which is terrific. But the backdrop to that record was, I was in my early 20s, out of college. Jake's the same way. I was the kind of guy that was in relationships like my entire. I was in relationships, like romantic relationships, since as soon as I was allowed to be in one as a kid, right? If that gives you any idea.
Okay.
And this was like the first time in my life where I had 3 years just to figure out. I was living alone. I was figuring out what made me tick. I was figuring out, when you can just wake up every morning, and not every morning, I worked, of course, but when you can just wake up and say, what do I want to do today? Mm-hmm. What inspires me? What makes me tick? What do I find meaning in? How do I structure and arrange my life? How do you reflect on certain things? And I had the opportunity to do that for like 3 years. And all of that kind of very important self-exploration and grounding without having an immediate partner next to you was very useful thing to do. It was a very useful exercise. It hit me at the perfect point in my life. And I was making music at the same time with a group of tremendously talented musicians, Jake Pavek, first and foremost. And that was the backdrop to all this. And Heather Street, if those of you who are really, really interested, you look up a place called Crocus Hill in St. Paul within Cathedral Hill, and there's a Heather Street there. Go walk down it. It's like 17th century, 18th century corridors of Europe. It's just beautiful brick alleyways. It was a good spot to walk. And so that's how it got its name. Very long-winded way. No Penny Lane direct reference.
No.
Huh.
Ooh, I love that though.
Yeah. Well, that caused us when we were kind of discussing the album before we called you guys, and we talked about using musical onomatopoeias. Where either you're using a lyric that sounds like what you're talking about, or even using music to illustrate this, the theme using the sound of the, your instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys ever do that? Like, I mean, we'll get into your recording and stuff. Maybe we should play another tune for folks, huh?
Yeah.
Well, let's put that on hold. We'll talk about how you guys write and put that stuff together after this tune. I'm talking to A Piano in Every Home right now. They're out of Minneapolis. We're talking to Jake and Travis from the band, and their latest release is called North American Review. It came out in January of 2024 here. This next tune is Waiting on a Big Jet Plane, and you're listening to it on The Sound right here on 89.5 KQAL.
Be my comeback kid. I know God got it all wrong. Should have had a daughter instead. You could be my capital call. I know Sundays break your heart, and Mondays know you say it all. On a big jet plane, something's bound to change. Looking for love that won't burn fast. Oh, I need a slow romance. I know God's doing just fine. It's you I wanna see tonight. You could be my letter coming in. I know someday soon I'll slip and fall in love again. Waiting on a big jet. Something's bound to change. Looking for love that won't burn fast. Oh, I need a slow romance. Oh, I need a slow romance.
That was Waiting on a Plane, and that is off of North American Review, which is the latest release from A Piano in Every Home. And they're out of Minneapolis. And we have Jake and Travis from the band on the phone with us tonight. All right, guys. So we were talking a little bit. We kind of mentioned your writing, and we talked about that. Like onomatopoeia, like when a word sounds like what you're saying, like pow or bam or pap, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Or if someone says it rang out like a shot and there's a big snare drum hit. Like, do you guys ever do that kind of stuff? I mean,
if we do, it's probably not intentionally, but I bet we do. I mean, there's certain things where, you're the musical therapist here. You just ran through the record. You probably know it closer than I do, but.
Well, that's just
one thing that I do a lot, or I tried. Well, I don't know if I tried to, but I ended up doing it. Is alliteration, right?
Yes.
Which I think can be you do it in the right way, and it can be really effective.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, because the album, like I said, it's got this real cool kind of mellow feel to it, and I think in a lot of the themes, there's a lot of themes of like, love, relationships, stuff like that. So we just wondered if that came into play. So like when you guys are writing, what comes first for you? The lyrics, melody, chords, like, or is it an instrument, or what is usually the impetus of a song, or like what sparks it?
Yeah, so I like the image of like a sculptor who's just sitting there throwing like 25 different pots, right?
Okay.
Or someone who's just drawing a bunch of self-portraits. And what I mean by that is the way these start is it's never intentional.
Okay.
It's spending an evening, and I can write 15 songs or 15 starts to a song in an evening, and then one will kind of catch and then go, wow, that felt really interesting. What can we add to that? And then you just keep you keep the flame alive, you keep it hot. And usually I come up with about 50% of the song through that.
Okay.
And to be clear, one thing I cannot do is have the idea before the song, right? So I think a lot of people may sit down and say, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write a song about X, Y, and Z, Bob Dylan's Hurricane or something like that, right? I mean, that's obviously about something. It's like almost like a journalistic piece, really creative, but wonderful. But you have the idea before you execute the thing. And I can't do that. Wow. You just have to be explorational. You don't know what the thing is until it comes. Then you kind of pull threads. And if you're not learning through it, it's not an interesting process. So I get to about 50% of the song, then bring it to Jake, who is the world's best musical incubator, right?
Okay.
He's also a very good structural engineer. Well, he'll tell you really quick, this thing's not going to stand. Your blueprint's off here, your chord structure's off. Okay, we're gonna have to, jack this thing up and make a few adjustments, going out on a very metaphorical limb there.
I'm blushing,
but
thanks, Trav.
But he's the structural engineer. He's the he's musically talented, leaps and bounds above what I can do. So he will really get the thing ready for prime time. And I gotta stress, a lot of these songs die at that stage, right? Where maybe for every 5 songs I bring them, we're working through them, and some of them we just go, this isn't going to get off the ground. It's not going to have legs strong enough to really go anywhere. And then once we get 80% of the song figured out, then we bring it to full band, right?
Okay.
And that's bringing in bass, and that's bringing in drums, and that's where we just have, and I want to be clear about this, like no rules, complete license to be creative. No rule sets.
Wow.
There's a time for rule sets, and there's a time to not have rule sets. There's a time to have them during that stage of the process. You don't want any rule sets because you want everything thrown at the wall. You want to make happy accidents. You want to learn from them. You want to say no to lots of things.
Yeah. And then just total trust in the band,
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone's there for a reason.
They're there for a reason. I mean, I'll have opinions about things as like a tastemaker, but I'm not going to pretend to even be close to understanding how to play drums as well as Jake Laney, a drummer, or as bass as well as Mitch, our bassist, or any of the 14 and counting instruments that Jake here can play. So they're pros. Let them be pros. They don't need to be managed in any way, but the life of the song has to be managed. So at that stage, you're really like rules off.
Right.
Rule sets gone. But then when it comes time to record, and I mean not so much the mixing piece of it, but like actually recording what you're doing, then you get really rigid. And then it's like we have rules. There's things that are going to work and make this sound good. There's things that are going to get in our way, and then it becomes a very rigid process. And then when you get into mixing and things like that, you can kind of pull the lever back again and get creative. But you do it long enough and you figure out how to throttle that lever. You got to learn when it works and when it doesn't. But at least in the early stages, it's everything on the table. Let's be saying no to more than we're saying yes to.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm kind of blown away because a lot of people, you ask a lot of artists this, and it usually goes one of two ways. It's usually, I write all the songs and then I show them to the band, or there's the other kind who are like, we just get together and jam and it comes out, and you guys have, and I think this is a testament to your relationship together and how long you guys have been working together, is you guys kind of do a combination of both,
Yeah, for sure.
You guide and shape the thing, but you allow it to become something what it is with the band. That's super cool.
Yeah, no, it works well. Trav, trust me, thankfully. But,
right.
He makes my job easy because he usually brings me some pretty good stuff, as you can tell. So.
Right, yeah, for sure.
And if you're going to be rigid about the process, and you're not leaving any opportunity for surprise, Like, why are you doing it?
Right. Oh,
You know, like this is, you got to understand, and your listeners, I don't know if they've caught on or not, but like, this isn't our job, right? This isn't like, this is a wonderfully creative thing that is self-sustaining in a large part. But why are you doing it if you're not going to be open to the process and having some fun with it? And like, it's not serious. The songs may come across as serious, but like, no, this is serious. It's fun. It's a beautiful exploration with people that you care about, and that's probably why we keep coming back to it.
That is great.
Yeah. I did actually have a question. So, when it comes to the lyrics of the songs, are they, especially since a lot of them seem to involve like relationships, with other people, with a significant other, are they always about like your real relationships, or are they like part of a story that you've kind of created or come up with, kind of like someone comes up with a book or idea or something like that? How much of it?
I'll say it's more the former than the latter.
Okay.
If that was into your question, I don't know if you had a second piece to that.
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
I'd say it was more the former than the latter. I'll also say there's casualties involved. I'm not going to go into details, but I will say, like, the songs aren't. Someone said, "Oh, what's the song about?" Well, the song isn't about anything. It's just informed by things, and in the same way that like a good writer should write what he or she knows. You can smell it real quick if they're writing what they don't know about, right?
Right.
You write what you know, but the songs aren't about anything in the same way that like a garden isn't about anything, or a good meal put together. Like if you have a good meal put together the right way, wow. But it's not about anything. You don't ask the chef, hey, what's this meal about? And if he or she starts going off about what it's about, it kind of ruins it. It's probably going to ruin it for you.
Yeah.
It's not about anything. So just to try to better frame that, I'm not telling a story. It's more of like a visual art thing or a culinary thing or fill in the blank, where you're putting one piece of the palette on the canvas, and then you're playing around with that. And you're playing around with words, and you're playing around with them against chords. And obviously they are coming from a place that is like a self-portrait, right? And obviously they're coming from lived experience. But you couldn't take a song, thread it out end to end, and say, oh yeah, all this happened in this sequential order, and it was just kind of a journalistic account, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that is really interesting. And you know what's funny is Abby and I, before we got on the phone with you guys, we're talking about something similar. This next tune we're about to play is called Boxing Glove. There's some lines in there that, we were just talking about songwriting before we called you guys, and a lot of really good imagery, and we talked about how that, you guys say something about a train wreck, and then followed by you fit like a boxing glove, and, and I mentioned to Abby, well, another popular phrase is hit by a train, there's a lot of layers to this stuff that you guys are doing. That's fantastic. Yeah. And that's intentional then. That's,
It's of course intentional. I'll say from a lot of the analogies I give are based on visual arts.
Okay.
And so like my and I'm doing air quote, formal training is in visual arts. So Jake, full degree in being a composer, composition major. If you just look him up, Jacob Pavek, you're going to find he has 100 times as many plays as a piano every home, and he's nice plug for him. Anyway, very good composer for piano and strings and the like. But I spent a lot of time as a painter, as a printmaker.
Okay.
So the analogy is going to be visual here. And if you take a step back to, let's just unpack Heather Lane for a second.
Sure.
The first line, which is, let's give up tomorrow, let's go run around in your cheap dress. I liked that. And that's like putting a color on the canvas. It's like putting that's like a bright red up on the canvas, right? And then you think about, you could put a lot of different colors up there that's going to change how you're feeling. You can put something really hot up there, bright yellow, whatever, and it's like that says one thing. But then you come up with you play around a bit. You play around with a lot of different lines, and then all of a sudden you come up with a second line. The second line is I can be the moment and you can be yourself, honest. And you string that together. Right. And that phrase up against there with that hot red is like a burnt ochre umber, and then all of a sudden it's like, wowee, that works. That's like some Rothko kind of stuff there. It really works well. It gets you excited. And then you follow that process.
Right.
What's another line? And then you keep pulling threads out of yourself. You keep throwing, you keep doing these small iterative self-portraits, and it strings together into something really beautiful. And you had no idea it existed or could exist like that when you started. Because if you did, why would you do it? It's like, why would you make a painting of a picture of a landscape? Paint the landscape. So if you had the idea for a song before you sit down, frankly, I think you're wasting your time. Or at least if I did it that way, I'd be wasting my time.
I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, that is fantastic.
Yeah.
So do you see music as color then?
No, it's more of a metaphor. I mean,
okay,
I could
sure. Because
Yeah,
some people
what is it called?
synesthesia or something like that. Yeah,
my father has that.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that is
Is that
cool.
a lucky thing to have? I think probably. Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know too much about it, but I know that when he hears notes and pitches and things like that, he sees them in terms
color.
of like this pitch is blue, or this pitch is purple, or that kind of a thing, and it comes together to create kind of a rainbow of colors, which is what the song is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah, that's a lot of famous composers have that.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, if you're one percentage of the population that sneezes when you see the sun when you go outside, that's a form of it.
Yeah.
Really?
It's interesting.
Yeah, but
Very
it's getting your senses mixed up.
Right.
This is also a science podcast.
Yeah, so we can continue to riff on that if you want.
Very cool. Well, let's play another song for folks so we can move it along. And really interesting. But yeah, Jake and Travis here on the phone with us. They're from A Piano in Every Home out of Minneapolis, and we're taking a listen to their latest release, North American Review. This track is called Boxing Glove, and you're listening to it on the Sound right here on 89.5 KQAL.
Favorite combination of you and me, a bottle of wine and close accommodations. And baby, just talk to me and tell me all of the things that a girl like you needs to. This time, maybe be my love song and be mine tonight. Everybody gets caught up in life, so baby, just talk to me and tell me all of the things that a girl like you needs to do. This time, maybe be my love song and be mine tonight.
That was Boxing Glove. That is from North American Review, the latest album from A Piano in Every Home. They're out of Minneapolis, and we have Jake and Travis from A Piano in Every Home on the phone with us tonight. Guys, so we were just talking a little bit about, how you write your songs and your writing process. It sounds like you guys this is a craft you two have really honed in on, and really sharpened your skills together. Abby, do you want to talk about the lyrics of this tune at all, or?
Well, you kind of answered a lot of the questions I
Right,
had about it.
right.
But do you guys, when you do recording and things like that, do you do it like at home, or do you do it in a recording studio? Like, what kind of, I guess, technology would you say that you use when it comes to, that rigider sort of form of the process?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Trav usually comes to me with voice memos. It's a handy app, and then kind of run through stuff that way. Back in the day, it was all just kind of self-recorded. Didn't really release all too much before, we got the band together with Jake and Mitch. But yeah, this record was mixed and produced by Dan Kowalski, which was one of my father's friends. Super talented human. He did an amazing job on everything. And now for our new record, we actually have a studio space in St. Paul. Really cool old warehouse building that we got, I think, 8 years ago?
9, yeah.
Yeah, 9 years ago.
Wow.
So we kind of fixed it up, and it's our practice space as well. It's a huge spot. And we are recording with Midwestern Records. Brady Mullen is his name. And he also did Turbo Pastel's record as well.
Right.
So kind of get to do everything in-house here, and it's our little boys club,
And I remember I listened to the piece you did with Turbo Pastel, and I think he misspoke and said it's public. It's not public. It's very.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He did say it was public.
Bill, Abby, you are more than welcome. We'll give you the coordinates, but
Cool.
you're not gonna be able to get to this place. Yeah.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
But there's a good thing in kind of having it private for, not having a whole bunch of people come in while you're doing the process, but also for you too, because it gives you potentially a kind of like, I wouldn't say like, all I can think of right now is Superman and how he has that like
his lair.
His lair
Yeah,
or
you have
something
your
like
own,
that.
Your studio lair.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like it's your place.
Workspace.
It's your safe spot almost in
Right.
a way.
Let's do
So the next song, first of all, we are currently speaking with Jake and Travis from the amazing band A Piano in Every Home, and they're talking about their new album, which came out in January of this year, 2024, North American Review. And the next song that we will be playing from them that is on this awesome album is called Monterey. So yeah, that's what we have here for you.
I think we're in trouble, kid. Better burn all that we did and call it a strange circumstance where the wind just got away. And I think we're in trouble, love. And this guy's got his mind made up. And heaven's gate is just a metaphor for a fire escape. You keep me running, you keep me wondering, hey. And you keep me running, you keep me walking away.
All right, we are back, and once again we have Jake and Travis here from the band A Piano in Every Home, talking about their album North American Review. And I guess going into this song, now obviously you guys talked about how you don't have necessarily an idea from it, but there was a lot of talk about like running and walking away and those kinds of movements and things like that. So was there any form of like inspiration or anything like that that kind of came to be in that songwriting process?
Yeah, I will say the reference to like running, walking away, I can't think of a direct reference. What I will tell you, though, is that it is a way of getting lyrical momentum into the part of the chorus that does matter. And the part of the chorus that does matter, we were talking a few minutes ago about like Heather Lane, which has the lyrics that we unpacked, right? And it was kind of like you got the one color on the canvas, the other color on the canvas. And if you're talking about Monterey's chorus, you keep me running, you keep me walking away. It's not that interesting, but it's really quick lyrical momentum to get you into the phrase that does matter, which is "let me watch you unwind," which on its own is just kind of an intriguing phrase, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know where it's going, and then it's followed by "and tell me that you're lucky," right? And if you put those together and you picture the setting, you picture the context, and your image is certainly different than mine. We're different centers of the same circle looking out on this in some way. That's the part that matters. So the transition of "you keep me running, walking away" is just, it's an energetic, it's an energy curve to get you up to that point, right? There's nothing really inherent in terms of like meaning behind it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Abby.
No, you're good. That's awesome. I love that. I like to think of songs as like they're open to interpretation in a way, and like, yeah, as you said, like an art piece, and they have twists and turns that you yourself probably don't even know. And so it's really cool how running and walking is that kind of imagery, and how you put that in there to get to the kind of the heart of the song. I think that's really awesome, and I think that's really cool, and I love the way that you described it, honestly.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is like, aesthetics too, just aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
Similar to like kind of what Bon Iver does, except you can understand what Travis says.
There's certain words that work in certain contexts, right?
Yeah.
And it is, anyway, you were talking about onomatopoeia, or I think I butchered the phrasing of that.
I always do.
Or alliteration, right? But there's certain times you put those tools to work. I will say, as a plug for that song, that really if you think about the record North American Review, the title actually just came from, I was walking around the old section of a library, and I don't remember who published it, but we're talking about like 19th century. They used to every year publish the best poems in America, and it was called the North American Review.
Nice.
And it came in a couple of volumes. And I thought that's such a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I just love that. And I thought that this kind of, like I said, the backdrop of this record is a particular time in my life, particular time in Jake's life. For me, though, it was unfettered self-indulgence in whatever I wanted to explore that I had not yet, right? And it was traveling a lot. It was seeing a lot of places of the world. It was seeing a lot of places of the U.S. in particular. And there's certain places that just stuck with me. The north coast of Big Sur, south of San Francisco, on the California coast, Monterey, is one of those places. Just got back from like a month ago. You got to go. It's terrific. But that had a certain kind of imagery for me. That had a certain importance to me, and of course, pieces of that get threaded through.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. So another question for you guys is just like, what artists have you been listening to recently?
So I listened to Turbo Pastel, actually, just a plug for him. Ben Burwell, brilliant.
Thank you.
Other than that, I'm listening to like economics podcasts, like geopolitical podcasts, or just driving around with the windows down in the car. That's good fun too. But I don't listen to a lot, really. I think Jake's certainly more steeped in that.
Yeah, I mean, kind of a boring answer. I'm similar. I kind of listen to the same old stuff
Yeah.
over and over.
Interesting.
Radiohead, War on Drugs, and just like
We're
some old
we're the walled garden. You may not like that, but I don't know. Not too much new gets in.
Yep. And then I do a lot of modern classical instrumental stuff, notes from Olafur Arnold's, that whole side of things. While I'm working, get some instrumental music on, but
You got to keep in mind too. He's got 3 kids under roughly under 3. I've got one under 3, and the music you listen to when you've got these little rats running around is very different, right?
Yeah, Baby Shark, Dinosaur ABCs,
Yeah.
all the hits.
Does that stuff creep in to inspire you ever?
I
The
listen,
kids'
I wake
music?
up in the morning and there's one of those damn songs stuck in my head. It's the worst.
That's great. That's great. Guys, so that's kind of interesting. That you don't listen to as much, as a lot of people might think or whatever. How has your personal taste changed over the years, like in the stuff that you listen to or take in?
Good question.
Or has
I'm less,
or maybe...
I'm less judgmental or picky, I think.
Okay, sure, yeah.
I don't listen to emo anymore, sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, I just assume that if someone's taking the time to make something, it's meaningful to them and they find it worth their while. And I should just put a plug in it, right?
Yeah.
So I try not to be as judgmental or picky about things.
Sure.
Anyway, but like I said, I'm really not on the cutting edge of what's out there and what's cool. We're kind of, what we do is we keep writing things that are interesting to us. I'll say this, every time that I've gone out to try to find a magic bullet or some new thing or some new way of working to improve the process, it doesn't work. And from a process standpoint, we've talked a lot about process, which I think is fun because me too. It's you know nothing about it when you start, and then you figure out it's like one of the most important things, and that's creative processes, and that's the actual process of making a record. But the idea of via negativa, which is taking away something, is almost always the better option than adding something. And this is about process design. This is about life and relationships. It's about a lot of things. So the problem with adding something is you have second and third order effects that you didn't anticipate the outcomes of, and you get unnecessary complexity in the system. So as soon as you say, I'll make an example. Hey, you know what? We should add a synth player to our band. I'm making this up. Or we should start experimenting with X, Y, and Z. I don't know. Figure it out.
Right.
As soon as you bring that in, it creates so much complexity to the system that other things kind of suffer because of that. Whereas if you take away, generally if a song isn't working, same as a meal. If a meal you're working on isn't working, adding 5 more things from the fridge isn't going to fix it, right?
True.
If you're working on a song or recording, generally if it's not working, saying let's layer on a couple more things just further complicates it. You got to take away. So via negativa. So I feel like, the first record we put out, Meridian, back in it was over 10 years ago, and that was essentially an acoustic record. And then we did a full band record, which was very big and exploratory and the right thing for the time, which is North American Review, which we're discussing. We kind of kept doing that. And now we're going back to starting small, figuring out a song's worth by saying, okay, if you sandblast this thing
right,
all the way down to the studs, is it still a good song? And if the answer is no, scrap it.
Right.
Scrap it and do a different song. So be negativa, make things simple, don't complicate the process, and everything's going to flourish because of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I love that. What's that term you use? Negative what?
Via negativa.
Via negativa. Interesting. It reminds me, I heard Rick Rubin say a very similar thing about taking away instead of adding things,
Yeah, it's the exact same idea.
Yeah.
And that's the absolute hardest part about recording a record, because you can add anything you want to, and that's really, really tricky. And at the same time, it's a unique opportunity to add in elements that you can't live, and it's that balance of still making sure you maintain your the same sound that you're producing live, but then also having some special flavors here and there. But
some people
takes self-control,
right.
And some people can do it. So Bill or Abby, if you were to come here to the studio and we were to pull open one of Turbo Pastel's tracks, right? It's I know we've talked about him a couple times.
Computer would crash.
The computer would almost crash. You need an Amazon cloud data center. I'm serious.
Right.
There's more tracks than you could ever imagine, but that's because that's where Ben works. That's where he thrives. He thrives in complexity. He thrives in making 72 different backing vocal tracks, all with their own, EQ settings on it, and just getting deep in the weeds and making it this really complex and beautiful thing. But it doesn't work for everyone, right? So we kind of take the opposite approach whenever we can.
Cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, guys, so the album was released in January here of 24. Will there be physical copies available, or are they now?
For you, Bill, there can be.
Okay.
I think we got a handful. I mean, like I said, it's essentially a re-release. We still have a handful of the initial EPs around.
Nice.
And that was back in a time when I think that meant a lot more. But things are coming. Let me ask you a question, because you probably know this better than anyone else I talk to. Is vinyl as strong of a force and strong of a market player? Or is there a demand for that now?
So from my standpoint as a Gen Z person, I can say that I think it is slowing down a little bit, but I would say that vinyl is definitely a thing. Like, I see it in Target, and I see people buying it and stuff. I would say it's probably not as big as it was in, like, the early 2020s, but yeah.
And from my perspective, I think vinyl is very viable today. Usually when I go to a show that has, like, that's selling merch, as in the music merch, I see more people buying vinyl than CDs. So I think it's interesting, and I think it depends on the situation. Yeah, interesting. And if you guys do have some of those original EPs, I mean, we would love to have one. I know that.
We would definitely play it. I can say that for sure.
For sure.
Really? Awesome. They'll be in your mailbox next week.
Awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
And I think that physical media, especially for radio stations in particular, I think physical media still matters because it sits on the shelf right next to you, and you can see that. It's a very it's a more tactile thing, you know. And I think that can maybe draw people to it sometimes.
Yeah.
And some things get played more than others, and I think sometimes it's just availability. Whether it's right there staring at your face staring you in the face on the shelf, or if it's in the computer, then it's hidden in a folder. You don't see it unless you look for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think there's different ways to look at that. It's very interesting. What do you guys think?
I think Trav's most brilliant idea in this entirety of the band was magnets for merch. Because no one's going to buy a magnet. You're going to find a place for it. You just slap it on the fridge. You're going to look at it every single day.
Every day.
Keep the name right there.
We're doing seasonal aprons next for the Thanksgiving Christmas season. So
I love that.
Yeah, so you'll keep your eye out for those.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that is super cool.
Honestly, I would definitely get one.
So how can people find out about that and shows and all kinds of things? Where's the best place to find you guys and find news and stuff?
We are all too active on Instagram. You should find us there.
Okay.
We're also pianorehome.com. Fairly simple. You'll be able to have that as a jumping off point for all of our shows, all of the merchandise. We tend not to play out too much. We tend to do about a show every quarter. We're very careful, kind of selective about what we do. So keep an eye out when they do go. We usually keep the audiences pretty small, so tickets tend to go fast. But you can use our website as like I said, jumping off point for that.
Okay, great. Insta and website are best places to go. Cool.
Yeah. So, what's next for you guys? What are you doing now? Do you have more albums that you're thinking about or that you're currently making music for that are like after the one that you have coming out soon? What's going on now? What's going on in the future?
Yeah, so we've got the record that we're wrapping up mixing on soon, which is exciting. It's always such a long process, so gonna get that started and get some more shows on the books for that. And then we actually have next week or on the 17th and 18th, we have a show at our studio in St. Paul that we had talked about with Jeremy Messersmith. So we'll be opening up for him for 2 nights, which will be super fun and just pack this place full. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the stuff we like doing, Bill and Abby. It's like we've done the bar circuits and the venues in the Twin Cities enough where if you just run them through, boy, there are no real like positive returns on that. I'm not talking about financially. I'm talking about like it's just not fun. You want to be really excited about something. So like we do a couple shows every now and then where we actually, it's at our studio. We get about 75 seats in here. It's about the most intimate thing you can. It's about the same seating as Delta Comfort Plus, right? So you maybe have like 6.5 inches of leg room, right? For like full bar. It's always packed. And we do like these really intimate shows, just a blast. And we're really excited about doing that. So we try to keep the volume low and the quality high.
That's awesome.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is that a ticketed event? Can people get tickets for it, or do you just have to know someone? How do we get hooked up with that?
It is a ticketed event.
Yeah, you can check out the details on our Instagram, on our website as well.
Sweet.
I think it's gobo.com is the website.
I think there's about 5 seats left.
Yeah,
wow.
It's pretty close to being sold out. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Well, this has been fantastic talking with you guys. Absolutely.
Likewise.
Yeah, absolutely love the record. We're talking to Jake and Travis. They're from A Piano in Every Home. They're out of Minneapolis. This latest album that we're talking about is North American Review. You guys, again, thanks so much. Appreciate it. I encourage everyone to look these guys up. Look them up on Bandcamp so you can purchase the digital album and throw something a little their way, So
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go into the last tune here. This is Seasick in Ohio, and that's from North American Review, which is the latest release from A Piano in Every Home. They're out of Minneapolis. Check them out on their Instagram and their website. The website is A Piano in Every Home, correct? .com?
Correct.
Yeah, .com.
.com.
So look them up and check them out. See if you can get one of those tickets. 5 left, they said. Seasick in Ohio. Here it is. And you're listening to it on the sound right here on 89.5 KQAL.
Thanks to Jake Pavek and Travis Erickson for joining us tonight on The Sound. For upcoming shows, showtimes, merch, or to hear more from A Piano in Every Home, go to apianoineveryhome.com. For more deep dives into local and regional albums, tune into The Sound every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. right here on 89.5 KQAL. You can listen to past episodes of The Sound on your favorite streaming services. Find links at kqal.org. I'm Abby Hawkey, and that was Jake Pavek and Travis Erickson from A Piano in Every Home on The Sound.
Thanks for listening to The Sound. The Sound is produced by KQAL-FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us online at kqal.org. Theme music for The Sound provided by Mike Terrell of Fires of Denmark.